Hey guys, just a quick announcement before we get going. If you missed out on the Spirited Away video I did a few weeks back, great news, it is finally back up for the public. So if you missed out and or want to help its visibility, be sure to check it out. Hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here. Well, with Japan easing their lockdown, it's now just a matter of time before Monster Hunter World sees its new Elder Fury, Electro, the glittering black dragon. And in preparation, I've been shaking off the rust from my longsword, hunting horn, light bowgun, and hammer, but it also reminded me of something I really wanted to talk about a long time ago with another Elder Dragon that was introduced to this particular game in the franchise, a little nightmare horror known as Shara.
Hang on! Obligatory spoiler warning for anyone who hasn't beaten Iceborne yet and don't want the final boss spoiled. Tread lightly. Okay, now you're good.
Shara Ishvalda. A 3-stage fight that looks pretty tame on the outside turns into a madhouse dash of positioning, trying to hit a handful of weak points, while trying not to get utterly blasted by a concentrated Kamehameha beam of pure sound or a concentrated sonic boom spirit bomb. For any first timers, it usually takes a good 3 attempts before the group can get Ishvalda taken care of. In fact, I would go as far to say that it's actually easier to solo the thing due to how many AoEs Ishvalda drops. But I digress. When I was personally able to beat this thing into the dirt, I noticed something really peculiar, as I'm sure most people did when they finally brought the Everworm down. Everything that revolves around Ishvalda, the weapons, armor, palico gear, it all just kinda smacks of Hindu-centric Buddhism, with a bit of Japanese flair to it, of course. Now, I know for a lot of regulars of the game, this kinda comes across as a no-brainer, but for me...
Let me guess. Being the culture-thirsty lad that you are, you grabbed Spelunking gear and started going down that metaphorical hole of just how insane those inspirations go. Alright, how deep was it?
I'm still trying to dig my way out, actually. But in the process, I tangentially learned just so freaking much about Buddhism. Not just from the East Asian side of it all, but more so from the Hindu. Curious to see for yourself? Well, strap in, because I'm about to tear this Elder Dragon a new one. Let's start simple, that way I can show you just how maddening this research process was. Shara Ishvalda's name. Now, first, we gotta figure out which language we need to use to decipher the name. And if Ishvalda really is rubbing elbows with traditional Buddhism, you gotta go Pali. Why? Because Pali is not only the native language to Buddhism's home within the Indian subcontinent, but it's also the language of the Tipitaka, known as Sanzo in Japan. The sacred canon of Theravada Buddhism, which includes speeches from Gautama Siddhartha himself, the OG Buddha. And I'm sure you can tell by now that my Pali is terrible, and you should probably read the text prompts more than paying attention to my pronunciations. Anyway, little G, you got that dictionary?
Shara, but spelled without an H, has a handful of meanings. Stop me if any of them start to sound familiar to our Elder Dragon. Noun, an arrow, a sound or a voice. A lake, a kind of reed. Adjective, essential, excellent, strong.
So, yeah, I could actually see a good 3 or 4 definitions that could easily apply to Shara Ishvalda. In-game, Ishvalda is all about sound. In fact, it's actually the central driving plot of the game. Not only is she driving other monsters crazy with her globe-spanning sound, possibly destabilizing the ecosystem, but she also weaponizes that sound, as we mentioned before, blasting it like arrows from its finger wings. So, sound, arrows, possibly reed-like fingers, what else?
Well, if that wasn't enough, we do have the other half of Shara Ishvalda's name, which, running through the Pali to English dictionary, comes out as a Hindu word meaning God, supreme being, special self, supreme, soul, lord, and king or queen, which, considering Shara Ishvalda's place is the biggest of the big bads in Monster Hunter World proper, makes sense.
Well, sure, but giving such a regal and godlike name to Ishvalda has more meaning than just her place in the game, because her very design may have come from the Hindu gods themselves. Now, to explain, when it comes to Hindu belief and its ties with Buddhism, there are 2 core godlike beings that exist, the Deva and the Ashura. The Deva are a pantheon of various gods, goddesses, and everything in between that focuses on goodness and righteousness, with much of their symbolism relating not only to their strength against evil, but their capacity for mercy and aiding humanity against its own selfish wants. Ashura, on the other hand, are sort of similar to Deva in appearance, but by and large, these demigods care about only one thing: fighting. And they fight with freaking everything. But more specifically, their favorite pastime is fighting with the Deva in countless tales of struggle. Now, I know I'm summing up thousands of years of folklore, history, and tradition, but I've got a ton of information to offload, so please bear with me. Now, getting into analytical specifics, this is what Deva typically look like, with many of them depicted with sky blue skin, with blue in Hinduism symbolizing the infinite and the immeasurable.
Now, that makes sense. Back in the day, the two most expansive and immeasurable things mankind could see were the blue sky and the blue sea. So to equate infinite beings of knowledge and power with such a color is actually pretty logical.
Also, many deva are adorned with various jewelry, and jewelry in Hinduism has a key concept in manifesting chaitanya, which imparts alertness to the body, and because of said alertness, the body gains sensitivity to tej or radiance, which in turn creates understanding of divinity and joy. It's an exceptionally complicated process, but take my word for it when I say that golden jewelry in Hinduism has a far greater importance than just looking good. Now let's go back to old Ishvalda, starting from the bottom and working our way up. Notice anything interesting? Yeah, starting from the claws and going all the way to the underbelly, she's entirely blue, similar to the motif of the Hindu deva. Now, going up even further, what do we have? A kind of gold-and-white mix going up the scales, fairly similar to many of the golds and whites that deva are often depicted and adorned with.
So, Shara Ishvalda's design is inspired by Hindu deva then?
Not quite, because then we've also got this big ugly mug looking at us, and last time I checked, deva didn't have otherworldly bulging eyes. That consistent trait belongs to the Ashura, who not only have the same rounded, bulging eyes with thick pupils, but also 2 to 4 long, sharp canine teeth, also similar to that of Shara Ishvalda. And finally, Ishvalda's ever-annoying scalp that takes a miracle to break in order to get those stupid tenor plates for weapons greatly mirrors both the wild, swept-back hair or the wide-brimmed crowns that Ashura are often seen with.
Well, you say that, but have a look at this. This is a Balinese mask of Subali, the Monkey King. And despite having similar characteristics to the Ashura, it was Subali and his brother Sugriwa who helped the Deva Rama save his wife Sita from the evil king Ravana. And you gotta admit, this mask and this face are almost one-to-one.
Well, you may have me there, but let's sidestep this embarrassing revelation to my research and move on to another design find that left me completely blown away. And as embarrassed as I am to say, I had no idea about this very simple inspiration until my buddy Probate pointed it out to me. So, in both of Shara Ishvalda's forms, she makes wide-sweeping attacks or charges using her wing fingers to rake the ground. Now, Ishvalda also has the ability to transform the hard earth of the area into sand with a few scant individual rocks scattered across the sandy ground. Now, take all three of those things and tell me, what does that remind you of? Large flat areas of sand with sparse intermixed rocks and someone constantly raking it. Yeah, Zen Buddhist rock gardens, which are predominantly a large flat area of land with a handful of large rocks scattered about, with striped patterns going in lines and around the rocks using a rake. Yeah, it's so simple, yet even I couldn't see it. Now, there's one last thing to mention with Ishvalda, and I know a lot of you are aware of it, but still, this is both extremely clever and extremely unsettling. In Ishvalda's second phase, the Elder Dragon has her eyes closed while you fight. Now, don't ask me how she can hit anything, but whatever, eyes closed. However, in the final phase, those big old eyes open. Not to the player character model as all the other monsters do, but to the camera, the player, shattering the fourth wall as it never changes eye contact from the screen. Now, in Buddhist art, the opening and closing of the eye is incredibly important. You ever notice that in nearly every single statue and painting of the various bodhisattvas, the eyes are all closed? From what I could learn, they aren't always completely closed, just mostly. Some say this reflects the Zen Buddhist meditation where the eyes are mostly closed but fixated on a small spot to meditate, while others say that the nearly closed eyes of the Buddha represent the inward looking of oneself. Enlightenment comes not from the senses, but from the mind. Closed eyes block the mundane desires and struggles and forces an inward look of only our consciousness. So how about Ishvalda's open eyes that stare into the player's soul? This, I believe, is a reference to the Buddha's open eyes, or wisdom eyes as some practitioners call them. Buddha's open eyes look in the four directions to symbolize the all-seeing, all-knowing state of the Buddha. That's why when Ishvalda's eyes are open, they go right to the player's camera. Ishvalda is awakened and enlightened beyond the game world, knowing exactly who's attacking it. Not some PC model brandishing an oversized weapon, but rather the person sitting in a chair holding a weird piece of plastic who's probably neglecting their chores. It's not only a masterstroke in fourth wall breaking, but a tremendous, subtle inspiration from the eyes of the Buddha. So, crazy stuff, right?
Wait, that's all you had? You didn't even talk about the armor and the weapons they make from Ishvalda's parts. That's like the most obvious list of Buddhist references in the game.
I mean, I think the Ishvalda armor set is pretty self-explanatory considering what we just explained with the importance of golds, whites, jewelry, and the appearance of the Deva and the Ashura. I mean, if you want to talk about the Palico set, yeah, it does look like a tiny little Buddha sitting on a lotus blossom, a very common position and location seen in plenty of artwork depicting the Bodhisattvas.
No, I mean the weapons. Every single weapon that you make in this game with Shara Ishvalda's parts is a symbolic tool that is either being held by various Deva or Bodhisattva Buddhas, or has a tremendous symbolic impact to Buddhism. I'll tell you what, I know we're running out of time, but how about next video I school you on just how insanely one-to-one every last piece of armor and every single weapon you make from fighting Shara Ishvalda has a literal one-to-one connection with some of the most important symbols and tools in every form of Buddhism from Tibet to Japan.
Yeah, I'd be down for that, but unfortunately next video we gotta look into the layers upon layers upon layers of not only ninja folklore, but all manner of Japanese culture that's leaking out of every orifice that is gung-ho game, Splatoon-looking melee battle royale game Ninjala. Yeah, you thought we were done with that game after the Bubblegum Witch Ninja video? Not even close. So be sure to tune into that next time. After that, we'll wrap up Shara Ishvalda, hopefully around when Electro comes out in Monster Hunter World in July. But until then everyone, thanks for watching. And as always, a humongous thank you to all my patrons who keep my edutainment videos alive. It feels like it just gets harder and harder to keep pace with this algorithmic system, but you guys keep it all going. Be sure to check us out over at twitch.tv/Gaijin Goombah to catch us breaking down culture and gaming live. And until next time everyone, this is Gaijin Goombah, signing out.